Factors that contribute to reading success or failure. Part 1. Society suffers when individuals can't read. We see it in higher unemployment rates, the number of high school dropouts, and the increase in economically disadvantaged, and in higher crime rates as well. A few generations ago, individuals with poor reading skills got along reasonably well in the business and social world. My grandmother was an example of this. She emigrated to the Cleveland suburbs of Yugoslavia during World War I. She never learned how to read English, but she became a very successful entrepreneur. She started a small neighborhood delicatessen and grew that into several rental properties. She even built a small shopping center and restaurant. That would be difficult to accomplish today without knowing how to read. Today, people face many demands that require them to be at least adequate readers. Based on what you've read in Chapter 2 in the Gunnings text and your own background knowledge and experiences, what are some factors that might put a child's literacy potential at risk? Why is it that some students struggle with reading? Did such factors as a child's ability, motivation, home life and support, where they live, medical or emotional issues come to mind, just to mention a few? Did you know that in the typical classroom, as many as 1 out of 3 students may need some sort of differentiation or extra attention to reach his or her full literacy potential? 1 out of 3. That means that out of an average class of 24 students, as many as 8 need extra support and assistance. This places high demands on teachers. Every day, your instruction and interaction with your students must include ways to reach these special students as well. It's a serious problem, and here are just a few statistics attesting to that. There are many factors that can hinder a child's growth as a reader. We're going to group them into 3 categories: intrinsic factors, home, social, and cultural factors, and school environment factors. Intrinsic factors stem from the individual, despite a dedicated family, a nurturing school environment, or economic advantages. Can you think of any factors that might be considered intrinsic factors? Did you think of youngsters with limited intellectual abilities, or who have ADD or ADHD, or learning disabilities, or perhaps children with autistic characteristics, or children who are emotionally challenged, such as those dealing with being bipolar, or who are oppositionally defiant? These are just a few of the factors that could be called intrinsic, but they are not a complete list of what you might encounter in the classroom. These factors, of course, stem from the home, social, and cultural environments. The diversity of our society is, of course, reflected in our classrooms as well. As Gunning states, 48% of the approximately 50 million students in the United States are part of a racial or ethnic minority group. This is up from 22% back in 1972. The growth in the Hispanic population accounts for a great part of this. Their numbers have risen from 6% of the school population in 72 to currently being at 23%. In addition to this, our economically disadvantaged youths, those living in poverty, account for 20% of the student population. A child's education should be a combined effort between the school and the home, but unfortunately in some settings, that home support and encouragement is minimal. The home environment also impacts time spent away from school. Take the case of summer vacations. According to some studies, there's also a loss of achievement that accumulates over years of summer vacations. During the early grades, achievement data for students from low-income families show that they keep pace with students from middle-income families. However, low-income students show a small loss of achievement over summer vacations, while middle-class students show a small gain. Initially, this isn't too concerning, but over time, this loss compounds to the point that low-income students end up significantly behind their middle-class peers. You may have heard this concern being voiced during the discussion over a year ago about extending summer vacation so that students didn't resume school until after the Labor Day holiday. These factors stem from the school environment. There are a number of school issues that are almost every school faces, such as adequate materials, classroom space, class size, equipment, and personnel and resource assistance. The school culture, climate, and behavior codes, how they deal with bullying and discipline, are also factors to be considered. And last but not least, the instruction that is being provided. The 20% of the students attending high-poverty schools are particularly at risk. High-poverty schools are those where 75% of the students qualify for free or reduced-cost lunch. As Gunning states, here teachers are often less experienced or may even lack certification. The results are worrisome. Gunning states that 55% of the fourth-grade students' reading achievement scores were below basic on NAEP tests, as opposed to 13% of the fourth-grade students from low-poverty schools. These are schools where only 25% or less of the students are on free or reduced lunch. Eighth graders didn't fare much better. Here, 47% of the eighth graders from high-poverty schools scored below basic, while 13% of the eighth graders scored basic in low-poverty schools. However, when low-income students attended a low-poverty school, their performance on the testing was comparable to the middle-class students. So, how do we help at-risk students? We provide instruction that develops language, builds academic language, builds background knowledge, promotes literacy skills, respects the student's language and or culture, includes special education resource personnel, makes adjustments to the classroom's physical environment and or program, and provides a balanced program that promotes higher-level thinking skills. Now, besides quality instruction, there's a lot of other things that can be done. Now, all of these items seem like common sense, but they can make a huge difference for at-risk children. In the case of explicit direct instruction, for example, children from low-income families must learn important skills at school. Middle-income parents will often arrange extra remedial help for their youngster if they are falling behind or are struggling. However, this is usually not the case for children from low-income families who have limited resources, so these students especially need to be able to learn as much as they can in the school setting. Up to this point, we have reviewed factors in general that may put students at risk and made several suggestions for helping them. In Part 2, we will take a closer look at several groups of students with specific needs.